Today on Living and Investing with me, Jonathan Broekman, we have a guest, Marius van Rensburg from HBG Schindler Attorneys. Marius is going to be talking to us today about property and the process and the involvement that attorneys do in the whole selling your house.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Before we get stuck into the nitty-gritty, tell us a bit about what you do and how you got involved in becoming a lawyer and handling conveyancing.
Well, I think I got into law by mistake, like most lawyers. You start the degree and then you do articles and then you continue and suddenly that's all you do. I was admitted as a conveyancer and attorney in 1998, so I've been practicing law for about 26 years. I joined HBG Schindler in 2001 as a partner, and I've grown and developed the conveyancing department since then. At HBG Schindler, we do the transfer resale residential property, we do commercial sales, we do some developments, and we do bonds for most of the commercial banks out there. And I think that our goal at HBG Schindler is to try and help property practitioners and buyers and sellers to educate them and help the process go smoother and make the whole process easier for them.
You make it sound easy, Marius.
Well, it comes with doing it for many years, and I am passionate about teaching and educating people, and I like taking time out of my day to really take a step back and explain how the process works and help people through the process.
Marius, today's chat's about our buyers and sellers not understanding the role that you actually do in the whole process. Help us here and explain how involved you get in letting a buyer feel comfortable signing a sale agreement, and then what happens from then going forward.
Look, it's a legal process, and in one judgment I read many years ago, there was a judge who spoke about the mysterious ways of conveyancers, and that's kind of true. I think that the process by buyers and sellers, although they're more and more educated nowadays, the process is still very much unknown to them, and the acquisition or selling a property is normally, for most people, one of the biggest transactions they're going to get involved in ever. It's their biggest asset, and it's massively important. And there's a lot of legalities to it. Conveyancers don't only do property law; we do contractual law. There's various pieces of legislation that come into it, and I think that it's important to have a conveyancer who's experienced, who knows how to do the job, who's able to communicate with you, and can guide you through that process. And I think, in particular, when things go wrong, you want to have the right conveyancer helping you in that process.
Yeah, that's not really the time that you want to have to start searching for an attorney.
Yeah, you want to have a conveyancer that's on your side, and that applies whether you're the buyer or the seller. We act for the seller, but we owe duty of good faith to the buyer. And a good conveyancer is going to be able to deal with those problems without it going into a litigious situation. So you want to have someone who's going to be able to get involved, see both sides, and find a good solution to whatever problem kind of faces us.
So once we've concluded the sale and passed the transfer on to you, help us understand what your role is in the next steps.
In essence, our role is to transfer the property, ownership of the property, from the seller to the purchaser. And in that process, there's an administrative conveyancing process. We with the use of paralegals and conveyancers, our job is to follow the offer to purchase. So we collect the deposits, make sure the bond is granted, make sure the guarantees come in on time, get the documents signed. They must be signed correctly for the deeds office purposes. And really it's about following our instruction, which comes in the form of the agreements of sale, and making sure that process goes smoothly, making sure that when the buyer takes transfer of the property, it's free of debt, it's good title, collect the purchase price, make sure that the seller gets paid, and all that has to be done within the correct time frame as set out in the agreements of sale.
You make it sound like a fairly simple process, but we both know that there are many pitfalls along the way.
Yeah.
What are some of the issues that you've come across recently, or is any day ever the same?
No, there's various pitfalls, and the pitfalls often come from the personalities we deal with. You get people who are easy, they give you what you want, and get people who are not so easy. And what I've learned over the years is that because someone has signed an agreement to sell, to buy or sell a property, it doesn't always mean they want to sell or buy. They change their mind, they say they got money but they don't have money, the deposit comes in or doesn't come in. People say that they can get a bond, but they've got problems. There's issues around occupation, Very often there's issues around the condition of the property. Buyers move in, they find problems in the condition of the property. We misinterpret the law of footsteps, consumer law, deal with those issues, and yeah, it really is it's a people and personality type of environment.
And communication is crucial.
Communication is key. And again, you want to have a conveyancer who's not afraid to pick up the phone, make a call, go to the property and look at what the issues are, make a round table meeting, and actually communicate and just get things done. It's dispute resolution, problem solving, and some deals go through smoothly and others have problems, and you've got to resolve them.
Marius, we know from experience that in selling a house, everybody knows an attorney, but not every attorney is a conveyancer. Just for clarity, help us understand what makes you special.
Well, a conveyancer is an attorney, so you qualify as an attorney first, and then you write your conveyancing exams, which are additional professionally designated exams, and then you go to High Court and you get admitted as a conveyancer.
So it is a specialization.
It's a specialization, and I think it's more than that. There's lots of attorneys and there's actually lots of conveyancers. I think what makes a good conveyancer is experience and the ability to communicate with people, and the ability, in my case, the ability to manage a team to sort of get the job done.
We know that once the sale agreement's been concluded, there's the deposit to be paid, the bond granted. And then how is City of Joburg and other municipalities and the deeds office process running currently? What sort of timelines do you need to look out for?
Look, in general, in timelines, there's lots of stories about, well, I did a transfer in 6 weeks, and we also do transfers in 6 weeks. But the reality is that how long will a transfer take? Well, what are the time periods set out in your sale agreement? If you've got 30 days for a bond and 30 days for guarantees, well, then I've got 60 days already, and then I need another 2 to 3 weeks in the deeds office. If it's a cash deal and it's on 30 days, well, then I'm going to register on 6 weeks. The deeds office is a government organisation, and contrary to popular belief, it's a very, very well-run organisation.
It's encouraging.
It runs smoothly. Over the 2 decades I've done conveyancing, from that date, a lodgement till registration can vary between 7 and 12 days. And they're pretty consistent, and they are a professional organisation. Again, contrary to popular belief, the city councils actually work quite efficiently as well. That's the thing with city councils is if everything's in place, it comes through, and that's the vast majority of the time. If there's a problem, it is hard to resolve the problem sometimes. So, what sellers would need to try and do is do I think they must choose the right property practitioner, a professional property practitioner who's operating in that area, who knows their job, and then, with the property practitioner and potentially with the conveyancer, do a due diligence. Understand what it is that you're selling, and likewise with buyers, they must do their homework before they sell and call for advice from the property practitioners or from the conveyancers.
Yeah, and we always check whether there is a question mark with the City of Joburg accounts or the municipal accounts, because there is a query, it's not going to get resolved quickly as soon as we need clearance figures.
Yeah. Best to try and do those things in the marketing phase of the property so we don't have it impacting our transfer process.
And then everybody's favorite is FICA. We get asked for it 100 times whenever you apply for credit. We have to collect FICA, you have the same process. Help us understand what FICA is and why it's necessary.
So, in terms of FICA, the obligation to comply with FICA arises from the FICA legislation, and both property practitioners and attorneys are designated as accountable institutions in terms of FICA. So, FICA for property practitioners and attorneys is non-negotiable. We're under a lot of pressure from the FICA authorities and from government, with regards to the grey listing of the country. We have to comply with FICA, and what that involves is, it involves, first of all, collecting documentation to identify and verify our clients, and then FICA requires us to do a customer due diligence. So we need to ask the right questions, get the right answers, and then make an assessment. Is there terror financing, money laundering involved? Is there something suspicious? If there is, we need to make reports. And in amongst that process, and what I think the general public finds irritating, is that they need to give us all this documentation, and they the frustration is that sometimes the volume of documentation. So, for example, with a trust, I must FICA the trustees, the trust, and the beneficiaries. For a company, I must establish who is the beneficial owner of the company. So I must say, right, there's the company, who are the shareholders, who's the live, warm body at the end of that company, and that involves a lot of admin, a lot of documents, and property practitioners, attorneys, and the general public find it to be a tedious process, but it's absolutely necessary.
And there is no shortcut.
People must understand it's non-negotiable. If property practitioners don't comply and if attorneys don't comply, we are getting fined by the FICA authorities, and so compliance is non-negotiable.
In my newsletter last week, I wrote about how positive sentiment is helping our industry improve. Are you seeing that filter through? We've been going, 6 months of no load shedding, exchange rate, petrol price, all in our favor. Is it benefiting you, or are you seeing an upturn?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, my view is that sentiment drives the market more than anything. What I see in our practice is that there's a lot of wealth out there in the country. Banks are granting bonds. It's possible to buy property. The question is, do you feel good enough about the economy and the government to actually now invest your money into property, which is a long-term investment? And we can see the impact of negative sentiment. So when load shedding starts, we see the immediate decline in our workload. When load shedding ends with the formation of the government of national unity, we see an immediate uptake.
And it's been measurable.
It's measurable for us, yeah. I think that where we are now is the uptick is it's gradual. We come from a bad place, and as the positivity comes in, as the sentiment improves, there's the government of national unity, things go right, and if you analyse things properly, you can see the positive steps. And there's been an interest rate decline. Hopefully there's going to be more, and as we go along, we're going to see a confidence coming back more and more and more, and we're going to see the market taking up.
That's what we're reading as well.
Yeah.
It's now early October, less than 100 days left for the year. My challenge to you, give us a positive story and how that's going to help us both in the industries we've chosen to work.
So I've got two stories. One is a client of mine, and he's been looking to buy property down in the Garden Route area for a long time, but he just couldn't bring himself to do it with the government as it was. He had no confidence. He didn't want to put more capital into property. And with the advent of the GNU, shortly thereafter, he went and he bought himself a property in Knysna. And when I chatted to him about it, he said, look, with this GNU, he just feels like things are going in the right direction, and he bought. I have another client who buys commercial property, and they put a hold on everything, and they told us that they are now looking for commercial property, they're looking at investing, and that's the kind of thing that we're seeing. We're seeing snippets of positivity, of people having a change in attitude around where does my future lie? Yes, property is a long-term investment, but now I feel comfortable to step into the market and actually invest some capital.
So the handbrake has been released.
Yeah, which is good news for all of us.
I think we've covered pretty much everything, Marius, but if anyone has a query to do with property-related matters and needs some legal advice, can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, with pleasure. I mean, I think that I try and make that my thing, making myself available to answer questions from property practitioners or buyers and sellers.
We know you accepted this invite, so we know you are accessible. Thank you. And thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, great pleasure. Thank you for having me.